On an ordinary Wednesday evening in the early fall of 2007, millions of Americans gathered around their TVs to watch a brand new reality show that had already been making headlines in the weeks leading up to its premiere. Marketed as a groundbreaking and daring social experiment, in Kid Nation, 40 children from across the country were flown to rural New Mexico where they were challenged to create their own society free from adult interference. In the annals of reality television, few shows have garnered the levels of controversy as Kid Nation. It's been criticized from everything from its labor practices to set conditions to how the kids are portrayed on camera. Although only a mild success upon its original release, it has since gained an online cult following and is arguably more popular now than it ever was back in 2007. People are captivated by this show, and I understand why. It's truly compelling and unlike anything I've ever seen on television. It's an entertaining watch that I do recommend, but at the same time, it's also a perfect case study of the dangers of mixing childhood with reality TV. It raises questions about consent, media ethics, and the welfare of the young contestants. Did Kid Nation cross the line when it came to subjecting children to undue risks for the sake of entertainment? Is the show even real? In this video, we are going to explore it all. The good, the bad, the ugly. And hopefully learn a thing or two about the importance of child labor protections in the entertainment industry. Let's keep this intro short. I have been working on this video for over 6 months. This channel is a one-woman show. It's all me. This has taken a lot of work, and I hope you enjoy it. A few more housekeeping things. This video is going to be split up into parts and episodes. I couldn't figure out a less confusing way to do it, but there are timestamps in the description. And this project did take a lot of sources, and you can find a list of all of those also in the description below. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Let's rewind all the way back to the early 2000s when Kid Nation was first in development. Reality television had only recently exploded in popularity with shows like Survivor, Big Brother, and American Idol topping the rating charts. America was obsessed. But within a few short years, the original formula had already begun to grow stale. Simply being a reality show was not enough to attract new viewers. Producers needed a catch to draw audiences in. And what was the catch of Kid Nation? Children. Kid Nation was not the first reality show to center children, but it was a part of that first initial wave of child-themed reality shows. Kid Nation was developed by a man named Tom Foreman. He wasn't new to the reality TV business, and at the time was best known for being one of the producers on another early 2000s hit reality show, Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Foreman had some big ideas about what the show could be. If you took extraordinary kids and gave them the chance to rethink government or religion or education, these issues that plagued us then and today, what would they come up with if unencumbered by our legacy issues as adults? And that's how the show was advertised. 40 kids, no rules.
Imagine a world with no adults. Just 40 kids with a chance to build their own society.
Our work is cut out for us.
Welcome to Kid Nation.
And even though the marketing leaned into the show being a dangerous and daring social experiment, that's not really how the show ended up turning out. After many months of development, the final product of Kid Nation is more similar to Survivor with kids than it is a serious documentary project. So, what is Kid Nation? In Kid Nation, 40 kids are sent to the remnants of a New Mexico ghost town and challenged to bring it back to life and create their own functioning society. There is only one adult on the show. Our host is Jonathan Karsh, who is also one of the Kid Nation producers. Filming commenced April 1st, 2007 and finished 40 days later on May 10th. The show would premiere only a few months later on CBS in September of 2007 and would air a total of 13 episodes between September and December of that year. Every episode of Kid Nation, save from the first and the last, is essentially structured the same way. There's an overarching narrative of them trying to rebuild Bonanza City, but every episode also has its own beginning, middle, and end. This is not like a wildlife documentary where they turn on the cameras and let nature do its thing. The reactions of the children are real, but the situations that they find themselves in are not. As you can imagine, creating 13 episodes of network TV with 40 children in the middle of the desert in 40 days is not a very easy task. It requires an enormous amount of coordination and effort from lots and lots of people. The biggest secret of Kid Nation is that the adults were in charge of everything. And the idea that this is any sort of Kid Nation is merely a camera trick. There are adults everywhere, they're just not shown on camera. But if you pay attention, you can feel their presence immensely. In every episode, the children tackle a predetermined social issue that is communicated them via a magical pioneer journal written by the production staff. It's funny because the kids hate this journal so much because they quickly understand that this is how the adults tell them what to do without telling them what to do. They literally burn it in the end of the series.
Burn it, burn it!
You want me to burn the journal?
Yeah.
Then the kids participate in a challenge that is vaguely related to the topic of the week, and the results of this challenge determine the children's role in town. At the end of every episode, they have a big town meeting where one kid is chosen as the MVP and wins a cash prize and a phone call home, and then repeat. The crew for Kid Nation was made up of about 200 people in addition to the 40 kids. There were 12 different camera crews, which each consisted of a camera person, assistant camera person, sound technician, and associate producer. There were also several adults employed as handlers for the kids. These were essentially camp counselors that lived in Bonanza City with the children. The crew was also made up of several paramedics, a pediatrician, a child psychologist, and an animal safety expert. And all of these people were on set the whole time throughout filming. Everybody except for the handlers lived in a makeshift camp located a few miles from Bonanza City. Again, in just 40 days, the crew was able to generate enough content for 13 one-hour-long episodes. Compare this to Frontier House, in which 5 months of time is edited down into just 6 hours. In Kid Nation, every episode covers approximately 3 days. Unfortunately, keeping such a tight schedule sorta conflicts with this being a child-run world. Because of how structured the production schedule is, the kids really do not get much opportunity to choose how their town is run. That isn't to say that Kid Nation is fake. The reactions of this show are very real, but the idea that the kids have any meaningful control over Bonanza City is untrue. It's very disappointing, especially considering how seriously the kids take the show. They want to create their own Kid Nation, yet are sabotaged every step of the way by either the adults or the producers or some other kind of roadblock. It can be incredibly frustrating to watch. But now that we have a better idea of what the show is, let's talk some more about the cast. It's time to meet our citizens of Kid Nation. Casting a reality show is, in many ways, similar to casting any other scripted show. Casting directors look for people who fit the requirements for a specific role. In its most general sense, the Kid Nation casting directors were looking for smart, tenacious kids from anywhere in the United States between the ages of 8 and 15. The final cast would be made up of kids born between the years 1992 and 1999, making them late millennials or early Gen Z. This is also my generation. These are my peers. The kids on this show are great. Some kids have their moments, but for the most part, they are well-behaved, respectful, and doing their best. In fact, the kids are so well-behaved that the producers have to, insert themselves in order to create more drama for the show. They would have done better with less adult intervention, not more. Getting on the show was quite the process. The kids either attended an open audition or were scouted and directly asked to audition for the show. The crew held several open auditions in cities throughout the United States. They purposely chose cities outside of New York and California, the states with the largest entertainment industries, because they wanted to cast real kids, not child actors. Cleveland's Ohio 19 News still has the casting call for the canceled second season up on its website, so we can see a little bit of what they were looking for. Each child will have 2 minutes in front of our camera to say why they should be on Kid Nation. The point of the video is for them to show us their personality, a slice of their life. If chosen, the child would then need to pass several more rounds of interviews, camera tests, health screenings, paperwork, and more. During the final stages of casting, the kids and the parents were flown all the way out to Los Angeles to meet with producers and other members of the crew. And then, after all of that, 40 kids were given official offers to be on the show. Reflecting on their casting later on, many participants felt like they were cast on the show because they felt a specific archetype that the producers were looking for. In a blog post, Kennedy said that she was invited to interview for the show because she had won a Duke University writing contest. They also discovered I was a national tennis player, so I fit the profile of the student athlete they were searching for. In 2013, Michael did an AMA on Reddit where he revealed that he was also asked to audition for the show. I auditioned, but I was invited directly to participate in the closed audition. They contacted the Seattle music camp I used to attend in an effort to find the long-haired hippie kid from the Northwest kid. While I don't consider being portrayed as a student athlete or chill hippie kid as particularly negative stereotypes, this typecasting becomes more problematic when the labels are less positive. Anjay was interviewed in 2020 and said, "I'm sure there was an element of, oh my god, we found a brown nerd. We can put him on TV and typecast him so hard. I mean, I had a bowl cut and transition lenses. I didn't really have a chance at not being typecast." And these archetypes influence how the children are portrayed on the show. Children's portrayal on television needs to be protective because they are incredibly vulnerable to the worst harms of the entertainment industry. Children have a limited understanding of what reality shows or what their purpose on the show is. This can be seen from the very first episode of the show.
I felt sort of weird because I thought that maybe there would be adults.
Children may not understand that despite reality TV presenting itself as an unfiltered look at regular people, producers often create storylines, stage scenarios, and even coach participants on how to react. From the article Sluts, Brats, and Sextuplets, The Dangers of Reality Television for Children and Teen Participants, Lucia Palmer writes, "This is particularly ethically problematic with children as many of them lack the maturity, social wherewithal, and media literacy to fully realize the ramifications of their on-camera actions." Dozens of hours of footage is edited down into neat little condensed storylines which may or may not accurately present the truth. Not only is the performer unaware of what footage will be aired, but the editors often splice scenes just so, purposely creating a misleading sense of reality by utilizing realistic events but displaying them in a suggestive manner. Because of this, even the performer who would potentially allow the full version of her life to be shown in sequence might be shocked to witness its distorted telling in the series' final outcome. The effects of this can be devastating for children, especially on their mental health. I chose to put this section in the beginning of this video because I wanted to frame how you, think of the rest of it. Not everything is as it seems. Please do not get mad at the children. I know they are adults now, but if I had to read a bunch of comments about how 8-year-old me was like the most evil person ever, it would make me sad. Kid Nation is a feat in legal engineering. In the United States, we, for now, have these fun things called child labor laws. These laws can present some difficulties when you're trying to do something like create a reality show with 40 children in the middle of the desert. Luckily, CBS had the funds to hire a group of lawyers, labor, and production experts to spend 6 months creating a plan that would allow them to produce Kid Nation while keeping everything totally legal. How they were able to accomplish this was controversial within the entertainment industry, and Kid Nation's labor practices were quickly accused of being exploitative. I'm just gonna say this. For a show that claims they cared so much about the health and wellness of their child participants, they sure did their best to make sure that those same participants were subject to as few legal protections as possible. In the United States, laws can vary drastically from state to state. I don't even know, can the microphone hear the sirens? Have your emergency later. Typically, the states with the largest entertainment industries also have the strongest entertainment labor protections. Kid Nation conveniently chose to film in New Mexico, which was a state that did not have strong child entertainment labor protections at the time. They skirted child labor laws by arguing that Kid Nation was a summer camp and their production was a wee little crew that was just gonna document it. They were successfully able to argue that the children were not employed because they were not performing specific tasks for specific wages. Despite this being the foundation of their claim, on set the children were being asked to do and say things for the camera. In an article published by the Los Angeles Times in August 2007, parents revealed that they witnessed their children being told what to do by producers while filming. The parents saw their children being prompted to utter lines such as, "Oh wow," and "No, don't do that." and review things on camera that had happened earlier during the production. But why does it matter that the kids were considered campers and not employees? Because campers have far fewer legal protections than employees do. For one, this meant that the production was not required to have any tutors on set for the kids. The kids all missed a month and a half of school for this project. I don't know why they didn't choose to film over summer break, but they missed school. Next, there are no limits on the hours these kids could work, and they were often working up to 14 hours a day. They also were not subject to a minimum wage. For all of the work on the show, the children were paid a $5,000 stipend. Adjusted for inflation, the 2024 stipend would be around $7,500. Part of the waiver that the parents signed stated that they understood that the stipend they were receiving was not a wage for being on the show. Legally, the kids were not paid to be on the show. If the kids were paid a wage, they would be considered employees, and if the kids were considered employees, then the production would have to pay them a lot more than $5,000. Now, I'm not saying that $5,000 is not an insignificant amount of money, but in my opinion, it is not enough for what the kids did. The children should have been considered working when they were on set, because, also in my opinion, they were working. They deserve the protections that any other child entertainer should have. And if it would have been impossible to make Kid Nation without following all of these child labor laws, then maybe Kid Nation should never have been made. The children are performing two different types of labor on the show. First is what you likely think of when I say labor. The kids are cooking, they're cleaning, they're hauling water, they're taking care of animals, and more. Some of the kids are doing very strenuous labor from sunrise to sunset. It's hard, difficult work. The second type of labor is what they provide for simply being on the show. Without the kids, there would be no Kid Nation. They are the content. Without the protection of being employees, the production was able to do things like demand the children be available for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for all 40 days of filming. And that is straight from the contract that the parents signed. If the kids are being filmed 24/7, I think they should get paid 24/7. And once that content is filmed, the network owns it in perpetuity. New Mexico was not happy about their state being used like this. Before the show began filming, the legislature had passed a bill that limited the maximum number of working hours for a child between ages of 18 and 15 on set to 9 hours a day. Governor Bill Richardson signed the bill into law 2 days after the series began shooting. However, it wouldn't go into effect until June, which was after the production had wrapped. Let's explore some more of that waiver, shall we? The show required that every parent sign this long waiver that stated they understood the risks of their child being on the show. This 22-page long document was leaked by thesmokinggun.com in August 2007. I am not a lawyer, so this is not an analysis of the legality of this document, but instead me highlighting some parts that I personally found interesting. The parents agreed that they would have absolutely no contact with their children throughout the entire 40 days of filming, nor would their child be allowed to contact them. The parents would receive some updates throughout the production. A crew member would call the parents of each child every 3 days, giving them an update about how their kid was doing. I'm not a parent, and I'm uncomfortable with the idea of kids this young being completely cut off from their support systems. I understand why they didn't want to organize 40 phone calls home every evening. That sounds like a logistical nightmare and may have made the kids even more homesick. But I think they should have been allowed to write and receive letters from home. I think it's a matter of safety. Let's continue. Parents acknowledge that the minor will have no privacy, but the document does assure them that they will not be filmed in the bathroom, provided the minor is in the process of showering, bathing, urinating, or defecating. Lovely. The document also states that the parents assume any and all risks of a child having an encounter with an adult on set. By participating in the program, the minor will, over a period of time, be interacting with people who are likely to presently be strangers of the minor. I acknowledge that I must assume the risk, on behalf of the minor and myself, of any encounter or interaction by the minor with such persons. I'll let you draw your own conclusions about what kind of interactions they could be referring to. Later in the document, it adds, I understand that if the minor chooses to enter an intimate relationship of any nature with another participant or any other person, the minor does so without any influence by the producers and the minor, and I hereby assume any risks and all risks that may be associated with the relationship, including, without limitation, emotional distress, illness, sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, and pregnancy, if applicable. The parents are also asked to acknowledge that the program may take place in inherently dangerous travel areas that may expose the minor and other participants to a variety of unmarked and uncontrolled hazards and conditions that may cause the minor serious bodily injury, illness, or death. I want to give the disclaimer that this was a 22-page long document, and squishing all of the worst parts together is obviously going to make it sound really, really bad. I know very little about the legalities of children's reality TV contracts, so maybe this is something very normal and all documents are very like this. I don't know. I don't like it. I think this Entertainment Weekly article sums up my feelings about the document pretty well. Yes, this liability waiver is pretty much the same kind of boilerplate agreement you'd have to sign on any reality show on any network, but it's kind of creepy when an 8-year-old is involved. Kid Nation was filmed in Bonanza City, New Mexico, which is located approximately 13 miles or 21 kilometers southwest of the state capital of Santa Fe. But long before it was known as New Mexico, the land was inhabited by the people of the Comanche Nation. The Comanche were initially part of the Shoshone tribe before they splintered off from the group during the late 17th and early 18th century. The Comanche people are known as the Lords of the Plains. They migrated around the central United States before settling in the southern plains. The vast area of land they presided on would eventually be called Comancheria. The Comanche were known to be fierce warriors who defended their territory relentlessly. They were admired for their skills with horses and were experts at breeding and trading. They even fought battles on horseback, which gave them a tactical advantage over other tribes, thus allowing them to dominate the region. The Comanche had been in contact with the Europeans since the early 1700s when they established trade relationships with the French and Spanish. It was during this period that the Comanche were at their most powerful and controlled the largest area of land. Sadly, like many native nations, the Comanche's power in the region began to decline throughout the 19th century as American Western expansionism continued and settlers began to encroach on their land. This new wave of settlers brought disease, conflict, and food scarcity. By the 1870s, the population had declined from 20,000 to only a few thousand people. From the late 19th to mid-20th century, the United States forced many Comanche citizens into boarding schools, banned religious and cultural practices, and even forbade them from speaking their native language. In the present day, the majority of members of the Comanche tribe live in southwestern Oklahoma, and its headquarters are in Lawton. The total number of enrolled members is about 17,000 people, and there are ongoing efforts by tribal members to preserve their history and cultural heritage for generations to come. Since 1991, the Comanche Nation Fair has been held every year at the tribal headquarters in Oklahoma.
Hey Mark, I am here at the Comanche Nation Fair with the chairman and the 2 Comanche Nation princesses.
Ha Marotweka, Nananiatsa, Michelle Damaroi Navakoya, Comanche Nation Princess 2022. Hello, my name is Michelle Nevakoy. I'm the Comanche Nation Princess.
Ha Marowe, Nananiatsa, Wamutiakat Nahu. Hello, my name is Blue Sky Tosi. My Comanche name is Wamutiakat Nahu, which means sharp knife. I'm the Comanche Nation Junior Princess for 2022.
If I'm ever in southern Oklahoma in late September, you'll know where to find me. Sounds really fun. I'd love to go. A few members of the Comanche tribe are briefly featured in Kid Nation, but this doesn't happen until all the way in episode 12, so something to look forward to. Kid Nation is supposed to take place in the 1880s, which is right around when the real Bonanza City was first established. Yes, once upon a time, Bonanza City was a real place. Settlers arrived and established Bonanza City in 1880 after silver, zinc, and lead were discovered in the nearby Los Cerrillos Hills. Its population peaked at around 2,000 people in the early 1880s before beginning a permanent decline, and by the early 1900s, the town was completely abandoned. The land was bought by a cattle rancher in the early 1940s, and after a series of events not especially relevant to this story, a man brought the property to the attention of some Hollywood producers who thought it was the perfect location for filming westerns. The land has been used for dozens of movies and TV shows since the 1950s, but it wasn't until the late 1980s that the landowners decided to build Bonanza City, a permanent movie set that is built to look like a small town from the Wild West. It was also the site of the Rush shooting accident. Moving on. So the kids are not living in a 19th century ghost town. They are living in a movie set built in the late 80s that looks like a 19th century ghost town. And some of you may be thinking, movie sets aren't made to be working, livable buildings. Exactly. We'll get to that later. You are such a trooper for letting me go on this long without telling you what actually happens in the show. But your wait is finally over. It's episode 1. Kid Nation begins several miles outside of Bonanza City. 36 kids arrive on a school bus with all of their belongings. 4 more kids make a grand arrival via helicopter. The producers have pre-selected 4 children to make up the town council.
This is your town council, and they're in charge.
11-year-old Mike,
I think I'm a good leader because I have respect for other people's ideas.
10-year-old Taylor,
I can make this a better world. I bring world peace to
12-year-old Anjay,
Adults have done a horrible job with the world. 3 adults I know have done a good job. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Mahatma Gandhi.
and 12-year-old Laurel.
I really believe in my own true beliefs, and no one's gonna make me think otherwise.
Their first task as a group is to haul all of their belongings into town. With a lot of help from the older kids, they are able to complete their journey. But unfortunately, conditions do not improve from there. As I said, Bonanza is an old movie set. It was not built for people to live in.
Oh my goodness. It's so bad that I personally think it's gross. Are we supposed to live here? In disarray.
The first episode of Kid Nation is the most difficult to watch. The kids are dirty, hungry, tired, and experiencing intense homesickness.
I think I'm too young to be doing this. Even if I just told myself, just stick it out and prove to your friends and family back home that you can be real brave.
If anybody ever tells you that it's easy living Bonanza City, slap them across the face because they're a smackdown liar.
I do promise that morale only improves from here. The kids are not this miserable for all 40 days. With no chores assigned and kids getting hungry, Sophia takes over the kitchen.
We have a cookbook. Why don't we follow a recipe seeing as no one here knows how to cook?
Their first meal is mushy pasta and beans, which makes many of the kids feel even more homesick. So one of the first notes that I wrote while I was watching was, the producers stick their grubby little hands into the show and interfere with the kids' ability to run their own community. And that's a sentiment that I would find myself thinking constantly throughout watching this. Because just as things are settling down in town, the producers inform them that they need to divide themselves into 4 districts, which the kids are not very excited about, but they do as they're told and divide themselves into teams, choosing to keep friends together instead of dividing them in a more competitive way.
I had to keep friends with friends, and people who weren't friends, we tried to split them up.
Gotta love kids. Just want to be with their friends. So let's meet our teams. Blue team is led by 12-year-old Anjay, and on his team we have 15-year-old Greg. Greg is the oldest member of Bonanza City. 14-year-old Blaine, 13-year-old Migle, 13-year-old Natasha, 12-year-old Olivia, 10-year-old Gianna, 9-year-old Emily, 9-year-old Alex, and 8-year-old Mallory.
I like older kids in my group because they're stronger and they know a lot.
Mallory and Olivia are sisters and the only pair of siblings on the show. The average age of the blue team is 11 and a half years old. Next, we have the red team, who is led by 11-year-old Mike. The red team consists of members 14-year-old Maggie, 14-year-old DK, 12-year-old Markel, 11-year-old Devad, 11-year-old Guylan, 11-year-old Jared, 11-year-old Jasmine, 11-year-old Madison, and 11-year-old Nathan.
With my district, everybody's pretty awesome. I hope we're one of the tightest districts in all of Bonanza City.
The average age of the red team is 11.7 years old. Next, we have the yellow team. The yellow team is led by 11-year-old Taylor. The show says she's 10, but she had her 11th birthday while filming, so I am going to refer to her as an 11-year-old because I believe in reporting the truth. Other members of the yellow team include 12-year-old Pharaoh, 11-year-old Brett, 11-year-old Colton, 11-year-old Randy, 11-year-old Kelsey, 10-year-old Sophie, 10-year-old Zach, 9-year-old Layla, and 9-year-old Cody. The yellow district are made up of the youngest kids with an average age of only 10 and a half years old.
This is the yellow district. I'm 11. I'm 10. I'm 12.
10.
The girls in this district, Taylor, Kelsey, Sophia, Randy, and Layla, they also form this own little girl group. They're great. They're besties, they're friends, they get in a little trouble together. We love them. And lastly, we have our green district, which is arguably the fan favorite district. The green team is led by 12-year-old Laurel, and members include 14-year-old Michael, 14-year-old Sophia, 14-year-old Eric, 12-year-old Hunter, 12-year-old Morgan, 12-year-old Kennedy, 10-year-old Campbell, 10-year-old Savannah, and 8-year-old Jimmy. And Jimmy is the youngest participant in the series. Despite having the youngest participant, the green team actually has the highest average age of 11.8 years old. I made so many graphics for this video that I don't even know how I'm gonna end up using, so let's take a look at the whole crew. Oh wow, lovely, there they are. Can we add the teams? Oh, perfect, Lainey, you've done it again. Every 3 days, the kids participate in a showdown, which will determine their roles in society. They race to complete a task, which is usually a combination of a puzzle and physical challenge. The winner of the showdown becomes the upper class. Being upper class means that they are paid to do nothing. They can choose to contribute if they want, or they could just hang out with their friends all day. Just for being upper class, they are paid a salary of $1 per day. The second place team becomes the merchants. It is their job to run the general store and the soda shop. For their labor, they earn 50 cents per day. The third place team become the cooks. They are responsible for cooking meals for all 40 kids. For this work, the cooks earn 25 cents per day. And finally, the last place team become the laborers. They are responsible for all of the dirty work in town. The laborers are compensated just 10 cents per day for their work. So it's time for our first showdown, which will determine the initial rankings for the teams. The showdowns are my personal least favorite part of the show. To me, it interrupts all of the other fun drama that's going on. Also, most of the time during the showdowns, I find myself frustrated for the children in the tasks that they make them perform. You'll see what I mean. The challenge for episode 1 is to set up a pipe system that fills up these giant jugs of water. Red team wins the challenge, making them the upper class. Blue team finishes second, becoming the merchants. Yellow finishes third, becoming the cooks, and green team finishes last, making them the laborers.
You guys all pulled together and you won a reward for the entire town. The reward is going to be a choice.
If all 4 teams complete the challenge in the allotted amount of time, then the town receives a town bonus, or like a choice between 2 town bonuses. So the kids have to choose between something considered a want and something considered a need.
Outhouses, 4 of them. Or this, a TV that you can watch whenever you want.
What will they choose? Additional outhouses or a very, very old TV? The town council makes the final decision for the choice, as always. Remember, there's no democracy in Kid Nation.
We made a quick decision that you guys are gonna have outhouses. We got the porta potties. Yeah.
A wise first choice from the town council. This is also how I found out that all 40 children had been sharing one single outhouse for the first 3 days, and that should be illegal. And then, at the end of every episode, we have our town council meeting. 2 important things happen during the town hall. First, any kid can choose to go home. In their contract, it does state that the kids are allowed to leave at any time. They aren't being held hostage, but kids only ever choose to leave during these town meetings. Second, the town council gives out a gold star to the town's MVP. Each gold star is worth a $20,000 cash prize. Adjusted for inflation, the 2024 value of these gold stars would be around $30,000. I have some mixed feelings about the gold stars. I'm not saying that the kids don't deserve the money. I actually think all of the kids deserve the money, even the kids that never received a gold star. But having the idea of the gold star changes the mindsets of the kids immediately. Because now it's not just about trying to build a better town, it's also about trying to win the favor of the town council so that they get that cash prize. But back to the point. At the end of every episode, 1 kid gets a gold star. And our first gold star goes to a very deserving recipient.
The person we felt who worked the hardest this entire time that they've been here is Sophia.
I want to thank the council for recognizing that I've been trying really hard, and I'm sorry that I've been bossy, but I'm really trying to improve.
In our first episode, we also have one departure, which is our youngest participant.
Does anyone else here want to go home?
The youngest participant, 8-year-old Jimmy, has decided to go home.
I miss my family a lot.
Well, you are a extraordinarily brave 8-year-old for coming out here on your own and doing this. And we're really gonna miss you, buddy, and we're proud of you. Are you guys proud of Jimmy?
At the very least, they are nice to the kids who decide to leave. And episode 1 ends with the kids having a big party. Who taught the kids how to take soda shots? Episode 2 is titled To Kill or Not to Kill. The conflict in this episode surrounds whether or not to kill a chicken for meat, and don't worry, I'm not going to show anything graphic. Let's talk about the food situation in Bonanza City. First, we do know that the kids were fed one meal a day during lunchtime by the production. This is never shown on the show, but we do know that the kids are at least eating one full meal a day. The kids were responsible for preparing their own breakfast and dinner. If they failed or ran out of food, then the kids went hungry, and that happened several times throughout the series. The foods that the kids were provided with were mostly shelf-stable goods. In Olivia's book, she writes, "The only foods we had been given to cook were pasta, potatoes, a few canned vegetables, and enough baking supplies to make rock-hard biscuits or soggy pancakes. They also had eggs from the chickens and milk from the goats. What they were missing was fresh fruits, vegetables, and meat." This becomes an issue in episode 2 when the omnipotent book asks them to decide whether or not to kill a chicken. Despite almost all of the kids being meat eaters, they have spent the last few days around the chickens, and a few have become emotionally attached to them.
Question I want to ask everybody. How many of you have eaten chicken or any kind of animal at home? Anybody? So what's different now? Are you in love with the chicken? No.
Greg reveals that he previously had a part-time job working at a butcher.
I've worked with the butcher for about a year, and I've butchered cattle, I've butchered pigs, I've butchered goats, I've butchered lambs, I've butchered turkeys, I've butchered chickens.
The town council puts the issue up to a vote, and the majority of the kids do decide that they want to kill a chicken for dinner. Upset with the decision, a few other kids who voted against killing the chicken locked themselves in the coop as protest.
I won't hang them once I did sit on my side.
Taylor literally squeezes through the gate and is able to convince the activists to come back to town hall to meet with the town council about the chickens. They have a group discussion and make a deal that the kids can have 2 chickens for dinner.
Pull the head out.
It was flopping around, running in circles, clucking at me. It was dead.
They are successful and end the day with a nice warm bowl of chicken soup. The next night, temperatures drop below freezing, which causes the water pipes to freeze. The kids now have no access to water. Great.
We need water just to survive. The laundry needs water, the washing dishes needs water, and the kitchen needs water. That's what I'm concerned with.
Luckily, they are able to problem solve and use hot water to defrost the pump. It's time for another challenge, which involves even more water pipes.
Pioneers, go! Guys have 1 minute. It's over.
Pretty over.
The kids do not complete the challenge and thus do not win the town bonus, which is the choice between a bouncy castle and more easily accessible water. Who made these? It's pretty devastating for the kids not to win the additional water spouts. This means they will have to continue filling up the water tower bucket by bucket. We have a new class structure. Well, it's mostly the same. The upper class is the blue team, the merchants is the red team, the cooks is the yellow team, and the laborers are the green team. I am once again reminded how much of a counterintuitive way this is to determine the roles in town. Jobs are not assigned based on ability, they are assigned based on random challenges that have nothing to do with anything. If only there was a better way to determine a person's role in society. But alas, there's only this. It's time for the town meeting. Nobody chooses to leave Bonanza City, which keeps its current population at 39 kids. The town council awards its second gold star.
We decided that we would give the gold star to Michael.
I think there's a lot of people out there who I think deserve this star just as much as I do. All of you could get this. All of you have the potential.
Episode 3 is titled Deal With It, and its theme is law and order. This episode would be a lot more interesting if its conflict wasn't caused by the adults choosing the government for the kids. Anyways, the kids have pooled their money for a soda party in Bonanza City to celebrate their 1-week anniversary.
We've all accomplished a lot, so this party is for everyone to have fun.
Who taught these kids to take shots?
Life in Bonanza City is a struggle. I think at this point, we just need one night to go and party on, baby!
The kids were up for most of the night, and the next morning, many are out of commission due to some intense sugar hangovers.
Stop! Wake up! Wake up!
Broken freaking tension has been growing over the past few days, with many kids feeling like there are certain individuals not pulling their full weight. Some of the older kids end up arguing, which frightens the younger participants.
I kind of was scared of what they were saying.
I feel that I have to protect her from like all the bad stuff going around in town too. Things happening here that, you know, maybe are a little inappropriate for the little kids. So basically, I kind of just step in and be the mother of the crowd and say, whoa, there are some little kids over here, you need to stop.
I was looking for you. I obviously knew what happened. I'm really confused.
The town council implements a 9:30 p.m. curfew to try to add some structure to the town, which does help. But before we can explore that, it's time for another showdown. Don't you feel like it just interrupts everything?
And you're going to all work together to round up an outlaw gang of sheep.
This showdown involves chasing sheep. 40 children chasing 40 sheep around a pen. These kids are having a governmental crisis and you're making them wrestle sheep?
Go!
Colton, he's a real funny boy. He's a natural cowboy. I just decided to jump on it and I grabbed it.
Pioneers! And guys, win the award!
This time, all 4 teams were able to complete the showdown, which means they win a town bonus.
Your first option, a Frontier microwave. Option number 2, 40 hot pizzas.
Like, what are they talking about? A Frontier microwave? The historical accuracy is 0. 0. The town council chooses the microwave, which causes immediate backlash. This showdown causes a major shakeup. Upper class is the yellow team, and you thought people resented the yellow team before, just you wait. The blue team are the merchants. The green team are the cooks, which leaves the laborers as the red team. The next night, Bonanza City is hit by a storm which knocks over the outhouses, spilling sewage everywhere. The kids have to help clean up the mess and can be seen retching afterwards. Gross. For the first time, the town council has decided to take nominations for the Gold Star. And the Gold Star winner for episode 3 is...
This person has worked real hard, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The Gold Star winner is Mallory.
When they called Mallory's name, I was overwhelmed with joy.
I just want to say thanks, and you don't know how surprised I am.
The winner of this episode is Mallory, who was nominated by her sister Olivia. It's also Mallory's 10th birthday.
I don't think that I'll ever forget this birthday because, I won the Golden Star. I'm gonna get to call home and talk to my parents. And I'm in New Mexico.
Did I say she was 8 earlier? I don't have time to re-record. Sorry. Let's take a break from the recap to talk about everybody's favorite subject, class. This section is a little different from the rest of the video in that it's not really a child safety issue, but instead an exploration of how Bonanza City is structured. Remember, the kids had no input in this. This was all decided in advance by the adults. To review, the kids have been divided into 4 teams and are assigned a class based on their performance in the showdown. On the very top, we have the upper class. They are paid $1 a day to do nothing. Next are the merchants. They are each paid 50 cents per day. The cooks are responsible for feeding all 40 kids. They are paid just 25 cents per day. And on the very bottom are the laborers. The laborers are compensated just 10 cents per day for their work. My first thought about the town being set up the way it was, what the hell? Why would somebody set up a society this way? It seems profoundly unfair. Well, just you wait till you find out about something called real life. In an article boldly titled From Kid Nation to Caste Nation, Mike Malloy aptly describes Kid Nation as a social system that privileges consumption over labor. In America, a show like Kid Nation seems to suggest that the ultimate winners of society offer no other contribution to the economy than that of a consumer or purchaser. Bonanza City is a crude reflection of our modern capitalist society. The producers did everything but deny the lower income children their health coverage. No one who's worked on the show has ever commented why the show is like this. Why would you make a show about kids designing and ruling their own world and then prohibit the kids from doing just that? I would guess that it has mostly to do with the fact that before anything, the goal of the show is to be good TV. I'm sure they knew that a class system with built-in inequality would cause conflict among the kids. Most of the drama in the show stems from chore distribution and who is and isn't doing what.
So I'm in the labor class. That's the lowest, class. We have to do the hardest work just for 10 cents.
You have kids getting paid $1 a day to do nothing, while other kids are being paid 10 cents to do hours and hours of hard physical labor. Obviously, the kids at the bottom are going to grow resentful.
I hate the yellow team so much.
Well, it's kind of hard to buy things when you're a laborer because, you don't have...
Oh, yeah.
money.
Yeah, we were laborers 3 times, we know.
The children are developing class consciousness! I wish they would have given the kids an opportunity to change things up. It's clear that they weren't happy with the current way things were organized, and I wish they gave them an opportunity to try to resolve it. Even if the kids weren't given full autonomy, I don't know why they couldn't at least have been allowed to decide who does what job and how much each job was paid. In Michael's AMA, he says, Sophia and I begged the executive producer to let us secede from the town and form a splinter meritocracy. It would have been hilarious and fun. And this is what I mean when I say the show was sabotaged by adults. They set up such an interesting premise and then prevented the kids from doing anything truly radical. What if the kids decided to implement communism? Do you think that would have been allowed on TV? I actually don't think they would have been allowed to do that. Because once again, the show prioritizes being safe network TV that can appeal to the widest audience. Kid Nation does not challenge any institutions, it leans into them. And what a missed opportunity that was to do something interesting. Let the kids form their own government, you cowards! Kid Nation. More like Adult Nation. Episode 4 is titled Bless Us and Keep Us Safe and concerns religion and God.
Sophia?
Yeah.
Do you think God put us here for a reason?
I stopped believing in God a while ago.
The town council was asked to decide between holding one generic religious service or letting kids break off into their respective sects and have their own services. The town council brings up this issue during a town meeting, which leads to one of the most heated discussions in the show.
That religion is a very touchy matter. That's what makes people fight. Religion is most of the things.
In the world today, religion is the main thing that's splitting us up. It's starting wars. It's making people kill each other.
Yeah. I'm not just nothing to play with, and we can't have all religions in one room. It's gonna start arguments. I know that for a fact.
not all of the children are respectful of each other's religions.
Why don't Jewish people celebrate Christmas?
You seriously want the answer to that?
Yeah. We should look at this behavior as a reflection of our society and the environment these kids were raised in, rather than a specific indictment of a single child's character. What I'm saying is, don't get mad at the kids, get mad at the adults who taught them this. Not all of the kids are insensitive, however, and many of them are very thoughtful about religion and its place in the world.
There's a lot of things that are central to all religions, and we could just focus on those instead of focusing on the differences.
What's wrong with learning about other religions? Are you so afraid of the other religions that you are saying we don't care about them?
Personally, I don't want religion to be a large part of Bonanza City. I think that the only person in charge of your own destiny is yourself.
The meeting ends without much being resolved. Later, Alex goes around and takes a poll of people's religions, and he is so knowledgeable.
What religion are you?
I'm Jewish.
Which kind? Orthodox or progressive?
I'm progressive.
Okay. Protestant, Catholic, or other?
Methodist.
Those are the two branches of Islam, Sunni and Shiite.
Okay.
And since people's beliefs differ, that separates them apart, even though they're friends in many other ways.
The town council attempts to hold a generic spiritual services, but no one is interested in attending. Later that evening, however, Morgan does successfully organize a gathering.
I'd like to show everybody that, different kids of different religious backgrounds can come together in prayer.
Just bless us and keep us safe and wake us up tomorrow. Let's have a good day and good food and good water, good grits. Hashem Allah, B'Terem Kol, Yetzirni Ra. Dear God, thank you for everything that you've given us. This entire thing is just great. And thank you for friends, because without friends we would never be able to get through this. And thank you for everything.
These are some of the best moments in the show. The children display a level of openness and understanding that is lacking among a lot of adults. I wish the show had more moments like this, but instead we have a showdown.
You guys are going to have your own steeplechase. Your steeple pieces are here. They're puzzle pieces.
Who is coming up with these?
Get set!
Get ready.
Pioneers, go!
All 4 teams did complete the challenge, which means they win a reward.
And now you get a choice between 2 rewards.
I want that dang reward. I don't know what it is, but I want the reward.
Here's your first choice. A giant miniature golf course that we will put in the center of Bonanza City. So here is choice number 2. It's a library of holy books.
Since the town council faced a lot of backlash for choosing the microwave, this time they decided to put the town bonus up for a vote. And surprisingly, the kids choose the religious texts.
Religious books doesn't sound as fun as an evening of golfing, but it's a chance to be able to grow as a person.
We have some new job assignments. The upper class is the blue team, the merchants are the red team, the cooks are the yellow team, and the laborers are the green team. At the town meeting, there has been some growing resentment against Taylor as a leader, and even Jonathan takes some hits at her.
Taylor, you either have a really thick skin or you just don't listen. Doesn't it get to you?
A little, but not much.
Here I am, a Taylor defender. The vile things I have seen written about Taylor and the other little girls on this show. Is Taylor doing the best job as a leader? No. Does that make her a bad person? No! I believe that most of this conflict could have been avoided if the kids had been allowed to pick their own leader from the beginning. Because while Taylor might be a great leader in like a student council type setting, she's not the best leader in a rugged survival-esque situation, and that's okay. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. And since that's been incredibly clear since the very beginning, she probably would not have been elected on the town council in the first place, and thus would not have faced all of this negative backlash. But moving on. At our town hall meeting, we do have one departure. Cody decides to go home, which brings the town population down to 38 kids.
Guys, I'm going home.
And then we have a bit of tonal whiplash because following that sad departure is the Gold Star ceremony.
This person has worked really hard and doesn't complain about anything. And her name is Morgan. Morgan, you have the Gold Star?
And we have another deserving winner this week.
I think that I have the best friends in the world here, and I'll never leave you, I promise.
Episode 5 is titled Viva la Revolucion, and its theme is politics. The all-powerful book has instructed the town council to hold an election, and every seat is at stake. The Green District has a team meeting about the election.
I don't think anybody here could do a better job than Laurel. So I see no reason to change.
You guys, I'm surprised and very happy, and I'm gonna cry.
Over on the blue team, Olivia has challenged Anjay.
I've just got to say that I've just got to get out that I know I made a couple of mistakes in the past, but I would try to do my best and work harder. No, forget the try part. I will do my best in the future and work harder starting now.
Vote for the person who you think would make the best leader, not who you like the most. I work hard in whatever job he's given me, and you know what? I'm gonna work even harder at this one.
On the red team, Mike is surprised when Guylan decides to run.
Bonanza City, I think that I could represent the Red District. I could be a man of the people. If you want this town to be the best it can be, then vote for me.
And finally, on the yellow team, Zach challenges Taylor.
I promise you that I will work harder, and really, I would just say, please give me another chance.
Girls and boys of Bonanza City, I'm sure we've all heard the term over and over again, deal with it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting tired of deal with it. It's not about saying I'm gonna do better in the future. It's about doing, not saying.
But before the kids get a chance to exercise their civil rights, they first have to compete in a showdown.
Your district's goal is to collect 7 different presidents. Your mark! Get set! Pioneers, go!
The yellow team wins largely due in part to Zach's knowledge of United States presidents.
Just because he knows he's president doesn't mean he's the best leader. I mean, look at George W. Bush. He's not smart at all, but he won the U.S. president 2 times in a row.
Green team places second, making them merchants. This is the first time they have not been either the laborers or the cooks, so they are ecstatic. Red team finishes third, making them the cooks, and the blue team comes in last, making them the laborers. All 4 teams complete the challenge, which means they win a town reward!
Ready to see choice number 1? Ribs, chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs. It's a political party, Bonanza City style. Let me show you the other choice. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash, floss.
The town council quickly chooses the dental hygiene supplies, which most of the kids recognize as the right choice. But do you know what this means? This means that the kids have not brushed their teeth in 2 weeks. Remember all of that candy and soda they've been gorging themselves with? There is zero justification for not allowing these kids to brush their teeth for 2 weeks. Add this list to the things we will be discussing later. But before that, we need to finish up this episode, which means the town meeting. Before voting, the town council gives out this week's gold star.
Go ahead and say who it is.
Go ahead.
Greg.
You guys have no clue what this means to me. This right here means I'm going to college. You guys have no clue how much this is gonna do for my life. Thank you guys.
And Afterwards, the kids vote, and results are announced immediately. On the blue team, Anjay retains his seat, defeating Olivia. On the red team, Gylan defeats Mike. And on the yellow team, Zach defeats Taylor. There are a few tears, but it is otherwise a peaceful transition of power.
Viva Revolution!
Episode 6 is titled Bonanza is Disgusting. The town's makeshift dump is at capacity. Michael revealed that the trash problem was a creation of the producers who brought in trash overnight and dumped it in the town. Why did they do that? Why'd you do that? The kids are able to work together and haul the trash outside of town and bury it in a big hole.
It took about 3 hours. It was nasty, it was disgusting, it was smelly, but we got it done.
We're back to Bonanza.
All right.
Keeping in theme, this week's showdown is also disgusting. So the kids have 15 minutes to find cans in a pig pen filled with beans.
Go!
So watch this.
It's over!
Red team wins the challenge, making them the upper class. Green team comes in second, making them the merchants. The yellow team are the cooks, and the blue team are the laborers. All 4 teams were able to complete the challenge, which means the kids win another town reward.
Ready to see choice number 1? It is every fruit and vegetable imaginable. Here's choice number 2. 2 gasoline-powered dune buggies. What's it gonna be?
It took a lot of thought. In the end, we decided that it would be the fruits and veggies.
The kids are so starved for fresh fruits and vegetables that they begin to eat it right away. I can only imagine the chaos that would have occurred if they had chosen the dune buggies. I don't even know if some of the kids are old enough to be driving dune buggies. The episode ends, as always, with a town meeting. No kids have chosen to go home, which keeps the population of Bonanza City at 38. And we have one more Gold Star winner.
Gold Star and this person just go hand in hand. DK.
DK!
I do have 6 brothers and sisters at home, and I do want to see them all go to college, and I do want to see them all get an education. And this means... this is great for me right now.
In this section, I am going to highlight all of the ways in which conditions on set were less than optimal. I think that the producers wanted to add a survival-esque element to the show, and that means the kids are given the bare minimum when it comes to getting their basic needs met, and in my opinion, sometimes they don't even get that. Okay, I don't want to get sued, so I'm gonna clarify that I am not making any illegal accusations. I am sharing my opinion that the kids deserve better treatment and living conditions on set, and I believe that regardless of whether or not the production was legally required to do that. I don't think it was necessary for there to be a survivor element for the show to be good TV. I don't think the show would have been any less interesting if the kids had been given toothpaste from the very beginning. I, for one, believe that the kids deserved a higher standard of care than they were given. And I disagree with the way they turned basic needs into rewards that the kids had to earn. It's easy for me to just make a list, and this is presented in no particular order. 1. Shelter. As I've said many times, Bonanza City is an old film set that was built to look like a 19th century mining town.
Oh my goodness. It's so bad that I personally think it's gross.
Mattress with some hideous looking stuff on it.
It was not built for people to be living there full time. Because it's not made to be livable, it is lacking some basic amenities. The walls are neither sealed nor insulated, making everything very dusty and cold. The children are all sleeping on the floor in various bunk rooms, which are all filthy. Because we know the time and place the show was filmed, we can also look back at weather data from that time period. The show filmed in April, New Mexico, and weather conditions ranged from mildly warm to very, very cold. The children and parents were not told a lot about where they would be filming and did not realize how much time they were going to be spending outside. Not all of the kids had appropriate weather clothing, and they had to stop at Walmart on the way to set to make sure the kids had like coats and gloves. Seems like they could have done more to prepare them. 2. Water. They chose to make it really difficult for the kids to get water.
This is like torture. It's like colder than extremely cold.
All of the water had to be pumped by hand and then carried in little buckets back to the town's water tank. This is one of the tasks that the children have the most difficulty keeping up with, and the result is that they always have limited water for things like the kitchen and laundry.
The water's like black. Everyone can get sick.
The tank is almost empty. The tank is empty.
People they need to help out.
I don't think the producers intended it to be this difficult for them for the entire show. In episode 2, they lost the town reward of the additional water pumps, which I assume would have made this a lot easier. But after they failed to get that reward, they are never given the option to win that reward again. It's like they lost it and that's it. I would have let the kids use the water pumps. I would not have made it a town bonus. 3. Food. First, I want to again acknowledge that the kids were being fed more than it is shown on screen. The production was feeding the kids lunch, which meant that they were guaranteed at least 1 meal per day. What the kids were responsible for was organizing their own breakfast and dinner. There are quite a few instances of kids going without meals due to the kitchen running out of food or some other lack of organization. They also only have the most rudimentary of kitchen equipment to prepare this amount of food. Recall from earlier when I mentioned that they had a very limited selection of food, and it doesn't appear like they had any seasoning either.
So sick of carbs and bread. If I eat one more biscuit, I'm gonna die.
I think it would have been nice if the kids had better food to eat. At the very least, I wish the kids had more control over the grocery list, if any control. Why did the adults decide that the kids get no fresh meat or produce? 4. Hygiene. This is the section where I have the biggest beef with the producers. For the first 3 days, we know that all 40 kids shared just one outhouse. The additional outhouses were only added after the first showdown as the town reward. I can only imagine what would have happened if they had lost that challenge. Would they be really sharing one outhouse for all 40 days? Like, that's sick. You can't do that. Why is having enough bathrooms considered a reward and not something that the children are given from the very beginning? And let's not forget that after the producers add the additional outhouses, they don't secure them properly so that they're knocked over in a storm, which is another thing the kids have to solve. Like, they should have had a professional team cleaning up this toxic mess. We know from Olivia's book that the kids had very specific instructions on what they were and weren't allowed to bring to set. For example, they were only allowed to bring 3 outfits for all 40 days. They were also instructed not to bring a toothbrush or toothpaste. Most of the parents assumed that these things would be provided by the show. However, that was not the case. The kids do not get access to any dental supplies until they win it as a town bonus in episode 5. Before that, they're given these packets of powder to rub on their teeth.
Oh my god. I think I would give up a week's wages for a toothbrush.
And just remember how much candy and soda these kids have been eating and drinking. I would not be surprised if some kids got cavities just from their short time here. The kids should have had access to dental hygiene from day 1. The set of Bonanza City is also filthy. This is largely due to it being a desert environment. There is a layer of dust covering every surface in this show. And all through this time, they're rotating through the same 3 outfits. They technically have a town laundry, but no one really uses it.
What the heck is that? I have no idea, but it's disgusting.
That's like girls' underwear. Guys, you don't have to do that, guys. Don't worry, we'll get it.
No, it's fine.
I don't actually trust laundry. Is that
Me neither. I never wanted to do that. That's why I don't send my clothes in. I don't want my clothes to be lost. I don't want my clothes to smell really bad.
It's not completely their fault. I mean, because it keeps blowing off because it's so windy.
As far as bathing goes, the kids got 1 5-minute shower after the showdowns. And if you can remember how messy some of these showdowns are, 5 minutes seems like hardly enough time. It's just rough. It was rough for the kids. But looking back at this list, I think that most of these issues could have been resolved if they had chosen to film at a real summer camp. You know, like they said they were doing, a summer camp. Filming at a summer camp would have had several advantages, like existing facilities made for housing large amounts of children, amenities like water and maybe even plumbing, kitchens built for feeding large amounts of people, and preferably not located in a cold desert in early spring. If they ever remake Kid Nation, I hope they do a lot of things differently, but one of the big ones is I hope they film it at a summer camp or some other facility meant to hold large amounts of people instead of a cursed movie set. Episode 7 is titled The Root of All Evil, and its theme is money. As we've established many times, Bonanza City is a profoundly unequal society, and that is causing some resentment among the kids.
I just hope we don't end up like the Donner Party, eating our own people.
What does the Magical Town book have to say about this? Not much at all. Instead, the town council is sent on a hike to retrieve some treasure from an abandoned mine. Yeah.
Any day now, Zach. 1. Just open it. 2, 3.
What a surprise! A bunch of Bonanza City coins! Rather than giving the money directly to the kids, the town council uses it to buy goods that the whole community can benefit from. And the kids are very excited to receive their new toys and games. Conflict averted. This episode has a particularly difficult showdown involving slingshots and eggs.
Go! It's over!
So nice.
But they are just able to meet the group goal and win another town reward. They have a choice between coin-operated laundry machines or a set of new clothes and free-to-use Pioneer-era washing machines. The town council chooses the new clothes and Pioneer-era washing machines, whatever that means.
I've been wearing the same jeans for about 3 weeks now, so we want that free laundry. And the outfits were pretty cute.
As always, we end on a town meeting. All pioneers choose to stay in Bonanza City, which keeps its population at a solid 38 children, and another kid is given the town reward.
That this person is a heck of a hard worker. The Gold Star winner is Nathan.
One of the greatest things in my life is music. I do piano and choir all the time, but it's kind of expensive, so this will mean I will be able to attend school.
Episode 8 is titled Star for Entertainment. It's the talent show episode. The magical book has told the kids to put on a talent show, and to make things even more exciting, the winner of the talent show will also win the Gold Star. This episode does have a showdown which takes place near the beginning of the episode. In this task, the kids have to complete a giant paint by numbers using chewed gum.
Disgusting.
This is a pre-COVID activity. They're very gross, and I'm choosing not to spend too much time on it.
I mean, gum's fine, but other people spit and gum.
Anyways, the green team win this challenge, making them the upper class for the very first time. Blue team comes in second place, red team comes in third place, and yellow team is in last. Not all teams complete the challenge, so the kids do not win a town bonus, but the prizes weren't that great anyway, so who cares?
All right, Pioneers, back to your bucks.
Let's move on from that biohazard of an activity to what we were really waiting for, the talent show!
lot of people were saying, you know, who's gonna MC it? Who's gonna MC it? And they're like, you'd make a great MC, Mark.
Come on, take a seat. Now, first we have one very great girl. Her name is Kelsey.
Kelsey's piano playing was amazing. I honestly thought that Chopin had come back from the dead.
Dedicating this to my bird AJ because he taught me it. That's all.
And your fair show shall suck away their souls, leaving them but the shells and husks of men.
Cause daddy don't play, and mama said wait, but I'm cool anyways.
Now, while we're talking about smiling, Andre over here is smiling all the time. If you told the guy to go jump off a cliff, he'd be smiling.
I'm gonna start out with a little rap, and then I'm gonna go ahead and choose some wicked dance moves.
You know I love you.
After some deliberation, Kennedy is declared the winner and also receives this week's Gold Star.
Thank you. Oh, this thing is really heavy. Thank you to everybody here. Thank you to the council for believing in me and recognizing you don't have to be one of the cool kids or the popular kids. You can be different, and I think that my differentness kind of separates me from the crowd. So this means a lot to me, you guys. What more can I say? Thank you, guys. Just thank you.
Episode 9 is titled Not Even Close to Fair. The town book has begun to run out of ideas and now suggests that the teams switch some things up. Most of the kids by this point are very loyal to their own teams and do not want to make any changes. So there only end up being 3 switch-ups of all of the kids. Emily moves to the blue district, Nathan moves to the red district, and Blaine, controversially, is moved to the yellow district.
I hate you, Zach. You always have blue in your blood.
This is a big deal because it separates Greg and Blaine, who had since become besties.
You're coming back.
But Blaine, the mature young man that he is, understands that the yellow team needs his help and accepts the move.
I didn't want to leave the blue district, but I know that the yellow needed help, so I just decided just to go calmly and not make a big deal out of it.
Laurel states that her district is perfect and recruits no one.
I'd like to welcome to the green district no one.
No! That's not fair! That is not fair!
In this week's showdown, the kids drag a minecart full of rocks through an obstacle course. These poor kids, as if life in Bonanza City was not tough enough.
Go!
To win the town reward, the teams had to carry a combined weight of 2,000 pounds or 907 kilograms across the finish line. They do not do this, and they do not win the town reward.
But not enough to win the reward. I'm sorry, you guys.
The production team still reveals what they could have won, though, which is beds. They could have won beds. The sight of the beds brings some of the children to tears. Just give the kids the beds. Just give them the beds. Not until 1 month into the project do they have the opportunity to win beds, and now that they have lost it, They will never get that opportunity again. Let's skip to the town meeting. After feeling increasingly homesick throughout this episode, Randy decides to go home. It's a very emotional goodbye between her and her friends on the yellow team.
Well, I really miss my family and my animals, and I just miss everything that I had. It's like I lost it all. And I have a life at home, and I don't have it here.
Ending on a happier note, another winner of the Gold Star is revealed. Blaine is given the Gold Star for being such a good sport about switching to the yellow team.
I'm shaking. I'm just so excited and I'm overwhelmed. $20,000 can make a difference in everybody's life. Council, I love you. Thank you.
In this section, I am going to talk about a few incidents on set involving the kids. I want to make a disclaimer that this is not a definitive, exhaustive list of everything that happened on set. I had to compile this list myself, so if I missed something, my apologies. These are presented in no particular order. First, beginning what is probably the most well-known incident. This was reported on by several major news publications, although some details of it vary from source to source. Basically, on one occasion, several children drank a soda mixture that contained bleach. This happened because one of the kids confused a bottle of bleach with a bottle of lemon soda flavoring. I've seen this incident reported as DK having to be hospitalized and having his stomach pumped. However, in his own retelling of the story, it does not seem that serious.
More than anything, I was just like a kid who thought I drank bleach until I panicked, you know what I mean? Enough to like fucking pass out. And then I was like, they put me in a trailer, like away from all the other kids and stuff, and like, there was a medic and there was like a whole thing, and then but basically they just diluted it, or I drank a bunch of water and I think I like vomited a bunch. Okay. And then I like slept, and then like they like brought me food, and it was like burger and fries and pizza, and then I felt better, and then I went back to the town, and it was kind of like this thing was like, yeah, like I got to eat.
Regardless, he still drank bleach, and that's very scary, but I'm glad that he didn't have to be hospitalized. The second well-known incident occurred with Divad. While working in the kitchen, Divad was accidentally splashed with hot oil, which left some burn marks on her face. Unlike the previous incident, this was shown in the show. Well, like, they don't show her being burned, but they do show the aftermath and her talking about it.
What's that on your face?
I got splattered in the face with oil, but a little grease won't stop me, you know?
After the show, Divad's mother would file a complaint to the local sheriffs accusing the crew of child neglect. We will talk more about this later. 3. Maggie was taken to the hospital for a thumb fracture she received while participating in an activity. There is not much detail about this incident, and I don't know like what activity she was participating in when this happened. At the hospital, Maggie was able to call her mom. She was given the decision of whether or not she wanted to go home or return on the show, and she ultimately decided that she wanted to return to the show. 4. Anjay was taken to the hospital after he became vomiting from dehydration during a hike. He was treated for dehydration in the hospital and was away from set for several hours. The show must go on, and they continued to film without him, which included some scenes in the town council. In a 2020 interview, Anjay called out the show for portraying his absence as him being asleep, being lazy, instead of the reality, which was him being in the hospital. A dick move from the producers, and just another example of adults lying about the behavior of children to make them look bad on national TV. Number 5. Randy passed out during the episode 8 gum challenge and was taken to the hospital to be evaluated. The experience of being in the hospital without her parents is what made her decide to leave the show early. This incident was not included in the show, but knowing the context makes her departure in episode 8 make a lot more sense. And number 6, our last incident. Mallory was injured during the Beans showdown when she was accidentally kicked by another participant while climbing into the big pit. She was removed from the showdown immediately and taken to be evaluated by the set doctor. She was a little bruised, but otherwise physically fine. However, while being driven back to set, Mallory did experience a panic attack. In her book, Olivia wrote that multiple kids had panic attacks while on set, and in the case of her sister's panic attack, she did not feel like the on-set doctor took it very seriously. And none of this was included in the show. But to be clear, I'm glad these incidents weren't included in the show. Broadcasting these kids at their most vulnerable moments would have been very invasive. It's good that the show did not try to turn this into drama. And I do want to give the crew credit for taking the complaints of the kids seriously. They had a doctor and multiple medics on set at all times. The kids were all treated promptly, and the production wasn't afraid to transport the kids to the hospital if that was necessary. But I do want to point out that I think that some of these incidents could have been avoided with some additional safety measures, like making sure the kids had easier access to water, more mental health support, and keeping potentially dangerous chemicals properly secured. It's possible that if the production had to follow actual child labor laws instead of using this camp loophole, maybe some of these things wouldn't have happened. Who knows? I do know that sometimes accidents happen. They are very lucky that nothing worse happened to the kids. Truth be told, I'm surprised nothing more serious happened. Episode 10 is titled, Let Me Talk! And it's also the re-election episode. This time, all 4 seats are up for grabs. DK is challenging Guylan on the red team, Blaine is challenging Zach on the yellow team, Greg is challenging Anjay on the blue team, and Michael is challenging Laurel on the green team. Each candidate is given the opportunity to make a speech about why they deserve to be on the town council.
Guys, please vote me off.
Well.
And this makes DK the default representative for the red team. The elections happen immediately after the speeches, and all 4 challengers beat the incumbents. Our new town council consists of DK, Michael, Blaine, and Greg. This is the most chaotic iteration of the town council, and many kids are concerned with the combination of Greg and Blaine in particular.
I just feel like, someone just won the presidential elections with no background check.
There is a lot of interpersonal drama in this episode. Greg and Blaine overhear the green team criticizing their leadership and threaten not to give the gold star to anybody.
What is this, like a Nazi regime? Why do you all fear so much?
That's respectful. Hey!
But we don't have any more time to explore that, because we got a showdown to get to. In this showdown, the children must balance pies on sticks. After 2 episodes in a row of not winning a town bonus, the kids finally get a reward.
That's right, ponies. Here is reward choice number 2. Actual letters from home.
The choices are so random. Ponies versus like a letter from your parents.
Love the ponies, and you also want the letters from your parents. So we decided to take the ponies.
What?
And throw them out the window, because you guys got the letter.
And finally, the episode's gold star is awarded.
Laurel.
I wanted to thank the council because, this really does mean a lot to me. My parents would be really proud of me. $20,000.
Episode 11 is titled, I Just Like the Recess Part, and it's about education. Well, that's what it's supposed to be about. It's more loosely education themed. The magic book is back, and it has told the kids to educate themselves about the history of Bonanza City. No one is interested in the provided history books, but they do realize that it could benefit them in the upcoming showdown, so they read them anyway.
75,000 during this period, and market demand was high until it went out of style around the turn of the century. Jeez, Alex, next time go a little slower. A lot slower.
And they are correct, because this week's showdown is a trivia competition about Bonanza City.
Native American tribe originally inhabited the land that is now Bonanza City. The Comanches, Pintos, the Cherokee. Fire! Everyone cease fire!
And the town wins another reward.
Bonanza City's very own library. You guys ready for the next choice? Dance games, driving games, air hockey, pool. Best part of all, every game is free.
The choice between a library of books or an arcade. For the first time this season, the kids choose the fun option and go with the arcade over the library books. Fair enough, kids. I think they deserve it. The town arcade immediately becomes the hottest spot in town, and suddenly no one wants to do their chores. Only Dance Dance Revolution. The town council takes swift action and rules that the arcade will be closed every morning until all chores are complete. And the town council also appoints Sophia as town sheriff to be an additional enforcer in making sure that all of the chores are getting done. Oh, I almost forgot about the town meeting. There are no exits in episode 11, which means the population remains at 37 kids, and we have our Gold Star winner.
This person is undisputably one of the hardest working members of Bonanza, and the next Gold Star Pioneer is Hunter.
I don't know. You don't know how much money will mean to my family, especially my dad. He's taught me to always try my best at everything I do and to never give up.
Episode 12 is titled, Where's Bonanza, Dude? I'm not even sure what the theme is supposed to be at this point. I think it's like legacy or something. If you can't tell, we're nearing the end of the season. The magic book sends the town council on a long journey to an unknown location. The boys say goodbye and in the meantime leave Sophia to look after the kids. The town council hike an unspecified distance to meet members of the Comanche Nation.
Looks like an igloo. It's not an igloo, that's a teepee, buddy.
They have a meeting with 3 members of the tribe and discuss leadership.
The most important things we can learn as a tribe of people is always offering support to young children. They're the future.
Always set an example for them, because as kids, you know, they're completely being molded by everything that's around them.
Like their brothers and their sisters and their leaders.
Which you guys are.
Exactly.
I wish that all of the kids could have gotten this experience. It's a shame that this was determined to be something exclusive for the town council. But back in Bonanza City, Sophia whips the town into shape, and within a few hours, the arcade is open for business. While the town council is away, the kids have another showdown. In this mind-boggling challenge, they will deconstruct a house, carry it several hundred meters away, and then rebuild said house.
Go!
But miraculously, all 4 teams complete the challenge and win a town bonus. The choice is between a rock monument to Bonanza City or hot air balloon rides for the whole town. The decision is left up to Sophia, and for the 2nd week in a row, the kids have chosen the fun prize, which means all of the kids get hot air balloon rides.
Looking at all my memories for this chunk of my life, something I'll remember, you know, until the day I die. It's beautiful.
But what I want to know is, what are they going to do with that rock? Where is it? But town meeting time. No one goes home in this episode. It's like the final few days anyway, which means Bonanza City is still at a population of 37. And we have one more Gold Star winner.
Come get your Gold Star, Alex.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for nominating for me. This Gold Star says to all 9-year-olds out there, even though there are 14 and 15-year-olds waiting to challenge you, don't give up.
Finally, we have made it to episode 13. Episode 13 is the final episode of Kid Nation, and it is titled, We've All Decided to Go Mad. Someone, aka the crew, burnt down the job board in the middle of the night. With the job board burned down, there are no more teams, no more social classes, no more jobs, no more salaries. Society has crumbled. For the first time ever, it's actually a Kid Nation, and it's episode 13. At first, everybody goes a bit wild.
Kids don't always have to act like adults. We need to be kids for once.
The candy store is raided. Most kids are at the soda saloon or arcade. They're completely ignoring their chores. But it's not total anarchy. Everybody still eats because the green team has continued to run the kitchen through it all. Eventually, the partying dies down and the kids realize the mess that they have made and pledge to clean it up the next day. And then there's a surprise gold star ceremony in the beginning of this episode.
Zach.
I never really thought I'd win a gold star. I've never won anything this big. I've never done something like this before, and this is just overwhelming to me.
Zach is the winner of our final gold star. This episode does have a showdown, however, there were no teams. The final showdown tasks them with getting ready for a picnic as quickly as possible. Part of this challenge includes tasking the kids in making pasta as quickly as possible. You should never task children with making food as quickly as possible. You shouldn't task anybody with making food as quickly as possible. It's going to turn out gross, and you never guess who shows up in the end. The parents! The picnic the kids were getting ready for was for their parents. Is everyone eating the pasta the kids made in the challenge? Is that the same pasta? Because I do not think that pasta was made in sanitary conditions. And as a surprise, they have one final town meeting with the parents. The supreme authority, that is the town council, is allowed to give out 3 final gold stars, each worth $50,000. 2 of the stars must go to previous recipients of gold stars, while one of them can go to any of the kids. And drum roll, please.
Sophia. Morgan. You're our next gold star. Morgan.
The winners are Sophia, Morgan, and Migle. The kids say their final goodbye, and the show ends. So how did the general public respond to this show? Well, controversy surrounding Kid Nation began well before the show ever aired. On July 16, 2007, the now-defunct magazine Television Week published an expose about Kid Nation, where they accused the show of taking advantage of New Mexico's lack of regulations surrounding child entertainment protections, among other things. Over the next few weeks, CBS would face a steady stream of pushback about the show from various publications. Then, in August, Devaugh's mother, Janice, wrote a letter to Santa Fe Sheriff accusing the production of neglect, citing the incident of Devaugh being burned and the other children drinking bleach. It has also been reported that Janice was either planning to sue or did sue the production. However, I could not find any evidence of this lawsuit existing, but it also could have been settled outside of court, so who knows. The story of children drinking bleach would become headline news, and CBS would begin to face even more backlash for the show. In January 2008, GovernmentAddict.org made a FOIA request to the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, for informal complaints made about the show. There were a few dozen complaints made between August and December 2007, the most serious of which were about an instance in one of the episodes in which a boy calls another girl a bitch. Yeah, yikes. And this made it on national TV completely uncensored. There were several people who were very unhappy about this, especially considering it was, a family children's show. I'm fairly certain this scene was either cut or censored later because I do not remember witnessing it in the version that I watched. A few others were angry that they showed the kids killing a chicken in episode 2. One viewer wrote, "I just watched a group of children on television kill a chicken, then I ran to my bathroom and vomited. I cannot believe you could not control this." One even said that Janet Jackson was nothing compared to this. It was worse than a horror movie. Never mind this person comparing seeing a woman's breast to a chicken getting slaughtered. The minds of the American people are an enigma. But most complaints were from people who thought the entire concept of the show was crazy and crossed the line into child exploitation. I really cannot believe that children are emotionally abused to this degree to make a buck. I also cannot believe that parents would send their children off to be exploited to make a buck. I cannot believe this show is coming through my TV right at this moment. Oh wait, I live in America. Sorry to waste your time. I forgot where I was. In August 2007, the New Mexico Attorney General announced that they were opening an investigation into the Kid Nation production and whether or not they broke any laws while filming. CBS doubled down on the show, which is pretty cool, and when asked how they felt about the investigation, stated, "We feel very comfortable that this was appropriate from a legal point of view." And CBS was right to feel this way, because all of that drama turned into a whole lot of nothing. Those fancy lawyers they hired at the beginning of the production did their jobs well. By November 2007, all investigations into the show had been completed and ultimately no charges were filed. However, there were some consequences to all of this controversy. The surrounding media caused some advertisers to be weary about being associated with the show. A survey by Advertising Age found that half of CBS's top 10 advertisers had declined to buy ad time during the show. The first episode of Kid Nation premiered on September 19th, 2007. According to Nielsen ratings, the premiere ranked #1 in its time slot for the 18-49 and 2-11 demographics. They got everybody except old people and teenagers. Unfortunately, this success would not last, and Kid Nation would begin to lose viewers from week to week. Many Americans quickly changed the channel when they realized the show was nowhere near as sensational as it was marketed to be. At the same time, despite losing viewers, advertisers became more willing to run ads during the show. In the end, Kid Nation was considered like a moderate success, but not the nationwide phenomenon they were hoping for. All of the controversy and hype surrounding the show did not translate into massive ratings. We know at one point they were planning for a second season of Kid Nation because they were already casting kids. Inevitably, that second season would end up being canceled, making Kid Nation a single season show. Why was it canceled? Now this is purely my speculation, but I think it probably came down to the mediocre ratings not being enough to counter all of the controversy and legal issues surrounding the show. It wasn't worth it. That, and they'd have to find a new location since the new child labor laws in New Mexico means that they would not be able to do the camp loophole thing again. The parents of the children on Kid Nation have been criticized for allowing their kids to be on the show since before it ever aired. Many parents would not be okay with sending their children to a random location in the desert for 40 days under the supervision of total strangers. The idea that parents would be willing to trust their children in the hands of reality TV producers seemed a little crazy to some. I personally would not send my child to Kid Nation, but I'm also coming from a 2024 perspective where the harms of children being on reality TV are much more widely known. I don't think the parents that let their kids be on Kid Nation are bad parents. Well, they could be bad parents, but not because they let their kids be on the show. Obviously, I don't know the motivation behind every parent involved. I'm sure there were a few stage parents. These are parents who want their child to be famous and are known for looking the other way when their child is at risk if it means that they have a chance to be on TV. However, I don't believe that was the attitude of the majority of the parents. I believe that most of the parents had good intentions behind sending their kids to be on this project. From the parents' perspective, this was sold to them as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to participate in a groundbreaking social experiment made up of the country's smartest, most driven, most special kids. The whole casting process was very official and took several months. They met with producers, casting directors, but also doctors and child psychologists. As I mentioned earlier, during the final stages of casting, the kids and the parents were even flown out to Los Angeles. I can only imagine how exciting this experience would have been both for the children and their parents, and I can see how easy it would have been to accept everything at face value. When the parents were assured that their children would be well taken care of, they had no reason to doubt it. It was a major Hollywood production after all. It's not like they don't have the funds to do so. And it's not like most of these parents had any experience with the entertainment industry. Remember, they were specifically looking for kids that were not child actors. For whatever reason, the parents were not allowed to go to Bonanza City until the final day of filming. Thus, the parents had no idea what the set was going to be like. They did not know that for the first few days, all 40 kids would share one toilet, or for the first 2 weeks, the kids would not be brushing their teeth. They didn't know they'd be sleeping on the floor of an old, dusty movie set with no heating or insulation. Who knows if all of the parents would have allowed their kids to participate if they had known where their kids would have been living.
Not many times you get to show your parents around a ghost town and then say that you've been living here.
Mom, don't freak out. Mommy, this is my sleeping bag. Disgusting.
I don't want to hear any more complaints about your room.
It was hilarious, their expression of our living conditions, and I don't think they saw it coming whatsoever.
This is chicken feet from the chickens we chopped up.
Not too bad in here. Okay, don't let nobody come in.
Ew. City slicker.
Personally, I would not send my hypothetical kids to live somewhere without knowing more details about their accommodations. I still believe that most parents had good intentions behind sending their kids to be on Kid Nation, but that's not an excuse because good intentions can still lead to great harms. I think most of all, the parents are guilty of being too trusting. They trusted that the conditions on set would be adequate. They trusted that their kids would not be portrayed negatively on TV. They trusted the production so much that they were okay with not speaking directly to their young children for 40 full days. After filming, a few parents spoke out about the show, most notably Janice, Devad's mother. However, most statements made by the show's parents were actually in the show's defense. They found that the experience made their children stronger, more independent, and improved their confidence. Sophia's mother Lori said in an interview with the Orlando Centennial, "Nobody expected the negative publicity. The kids feel they accomplished great things. We were there for part of the filming. The camaraderie was so moving." In an August 2007 interview, Zach's mother said, "I know Zachary came home a stronger, more confident, and more self-reliant child. So for me, the proof is in the pudding." In Olivia's book, she includes a copy of a post her dad made in defense of the show before it aired. Ultimately, we decided that if we didn't let our kids go, it would be for our benefit and not theirs. For them, this was a once-in-a-lifetime adventure to meet gifted, talented kids from across the nation. My girls would get to see what was really inside them. Were they tough enough? This was too big and too grand of an adventure to ignore. The statement made by Olivia's dad was made before the show aired and he saw how his daughter was portrayed. I don't think it's a coincidence that the parents who are most outwardly positive about the show are also the parents of kids who were portrayed the most positively. Like, we've never heard anything from Taylor's parents. I'm just saying. And now, for the section you've all been waiting for. Where are they now? I'm happy to announce as of May 2024, I believe that all 40 kids are alive and well. They are now approximately between the ages of 25 and 32. It took me several attempts to write this section because I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach it. I decided that I wasn't going to do individual updates for all 40 kids on the show because it would take a very long time and also felt a little bit invasive. Not all of the participants have decided to speak publicly about being on the show since becoming adults, and I want to respect their privacy. We are not owed updates on these people's lives because they appeared on a show 15 years ago as minors. So what I'm gonna do in this section is share what various cast members have said about being on the show since becoming adults. Remember, these are only the opinions of people who have chosen to be public about their experience. There's a lot we don't know. I would estimate that around 15 of the 40 kids have made some kind of public statement or interview about the show since adulthood, but like most of them haven't, and like, that's okay. Describing their time on set, most who have spoken now have had largely positive things to say about their time at Bonanza City. YouTuber Eric Barber has interviewed 13 members of the cast on his YouTube channel. Pretty much everyone says that the best part of the experience was the people that they met. Not all of the kids remained in contact after the show, but a few of them do and continue to be friends to this day. Other common themes in these interviews were cast members saying they appreciated the experience and that they learned a lot about themselves during their time at Bonanza City.
So I think Kid Nation was a positive impact on my life. You know, it was very much this thing of like, it gave me a lot of real life experience that I just really hadn't had up until that time.
It was a privilege to be there. I mean, how many kids get to be on a reality TV show?
I think I'll never have a more authentic experience like that again.
Thanks for, the experiences that Kid Nation gave me.
Thank Kid Nation for giving me a very, very challenging
like transformative experience that, you know, influenced how I walk through life, to be honest.
Definitely. Like, you learn a lot about yourself when you're able to be put in a space to experience non-standard things.
You know, some people actually, you know, pay for their kids to get an experience like that.
Because when you're 14 and you're filming the show and you can't talk to your parents and you're out in the desert, you really have no choice but to have, you know, some sort of growth happen.
Not many people have the luxury of having like such a strange experience to reflect on.
The cast is also reflected on the physical challenge of being on Kid Nation. Being in Bonanza City was a physical challenge as well. The kids were cold, hungry, and tired for most of the time they spent in Bonanza City. It was a difficult environment and probably more difficult than it needed to be.
I had a mattress that was probably this thick, and then a blanket that was the thickness of this carpet.
Oh, wait, but that must have been like legitimately scary for you a little bit, right? Was it?
I also shared it with like 4 or 5 other boys I just met.
Just wasn't really enjoying the show. It was just completely something opposite of what I wanted to be doing.
Moving on from experiences on set. Next, let's discuss what the cast has said about what happened after the show aired. First, everyone's experience was different. How people felt about being on the show is largely impacted by how they were portrayed. Those who were portrayed kindly and got a lot of screen time had much more positive things to say than the kids who either were not shown at all or received negative screen time. Like, there were a lot of kids that felt disappointed that they were barely shown in the show at all. The way Kid Nation is edited, there are for sure like main characters and more minor characters. Unfortunately, this is just how TV works, and there was no way that all 40 kids were going to get equal amounts of screen time. However, I understand the disappointment. If I spent 40 days in the desert only to like not be on TV at all, I'd be pretty sad about it. There's also been criticism about the show not portraying certain events accurately. More specifically, the kids have called out the show for editing kids in certain ways that make them look bad. For example, when they edited the show to make it look like Anjay was sleeping through his duties, but in reality, he was being hospitalized for dehydration. But even when certain clips were not out of context, some expressed discomfort at their most vulnerable moments being broadcast to the world, especially at such a young age. It was definitely a lot more exploitative than I remember it being back then. The thing is, we weren't fully formed people. We were kids.
Of course, like I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of glad that I wasn't on the show as much, just because that part of my life isn't really documented.
Looking back as an adult, I'm surprised the lengths at which some of these adults were willing to manipulate children for entertainment.
I think having your formative years sort of broadcast in that way it's a little, like I said, it's like a little cringe inducing, because so many of the things that I even like said, I was just like, that's not even him. Like, that's not even me. That's like, right. I'm saying something that I heard.
In a 2020 interview, Jimmy revealed that he was bullied by his peers for being on the show.
Because I left early and I cried, and they're like, I don't cry. You were AIDS. People don't cry. Apparently, I'm the only person that cries.
You were not the only in the episode that I watched. Play the clip. Look at all them crying. Everyone cried. That's what I was gonna say.
Olivia was greatly affected after she found herself being portrayed as a bully on TV. They wanted to make me a villain, so they showed all of my worst moments and very few of my good ones. There are still thousands of people who have never met me but claim to hate me. People have posted death threats and rape threats directed towards me. I was a child. While the production is not responsible for the actions of others, I do think they bear some responsibility for how these children were portrayed. When the parents agreed for their kids to be on TV, it was under the understanding that none of them would be villainized. But instead, the kids were treated like any other adult on reality TV with little regard for the possible consequences. In the years since its premiere, Kid Nation has gained its own online cult following. It is arguably more popular now than it was when it first aired in 2007. The show resurfaces into public consciousness every few years when a new wave of clickbait articles comes out calling it the most insane, wild, bonkers, crazy show to ever air on television. After Kid Nation, Tom Foreman and host Jonathan Karsh would join forces again to produce several more projects, including the 2009 reality show Policewoman of Broward County, 2010's Policewoman of Maricopa County, 2011's Policewoman, Most Amazing Arrests, the 2012 TLC show My Teen is Pregnant and So Am I, 2014's My 5 Wives, and a few episodes of the TV show Catfish. What a team. Foreman says that if he were to do the show again, he would want to have more control over the show's execution. Fair enough, Tom. He still keeps in touch with some of the participants via social media and says, "They were really the best cast I've ever had the pleasure working with." There are a few small but active communities about the show. One of the unique aspects of these communities is how often the now adult cast members will sometimes pop in to answer questions or something. For the most part, these communities are very fun and the vast majority of its members are very respectful. However, there is also a lot of less desirable behavior that I would like to call out. Many people seem to forget that these are not fictional characters. They're real children. It's all good and fun to make alignment charts and tier lists of your favorite fandoms. I love it, I do it too. But I think it's a little strange to make those things about real non-fictional children, especially when you're giving some of these real non-fictional children D and F tier ratings. The little girls in particular face the most hate, which makes sense because sexism and society hates little girls. And it's not even limited to fan communities. Legitimate news publications have no qualms publishing hit pieces about preteens. Why is it always grown-ass men who have no issues bullying little girls like this? AV Club published a particularly disgusting article titled, "Kid Nation, Taylor is Disgusting," which includes great lines such as, "At what age do people stop referring to a horrible little girl as a brat and start referring to her as a bitch? To avoid unwarranted charges of sexism, we can ask the same thing about boys, perhaps substituting asshole for bitch. People don't call little boys assholes, do they? I don't want to call 10-year-old Bonanza Tara Taylor the B word. She's too young to have earned it, but damn, she's really pushing the limits." He then goes on to call her an evil little beast that will grow up to make a lot of people unhappy. Another grotesque example was written by another man named Josh in May 2014 for Uproxx titled, "What Happened to Taylor from Kid Nation? The greatest reality show villain ever." Wow, the greatest reality show villain ever is an 11-year-old girl? How brave, someone had to say it. In the article, he mocks her and then doxes her by linking to her personal social media pages. At the time, Taylor was a senior in high school. Both of these Joshes owe Taylor an apology. Despite knowing that reality TV is fake, so many people believe that they can know the personalities of the cast. Stop it. Congratulations, internet, you have let a bunch of reality TV editors manipulate you into hating a little girl. How do you feel about yourself? We have reached the final part of this video, and I'm barely getting words out at this point. Thank you for sticking with me, I really appreciate it. I've been working on this project for so long that I've started to have dreams about Bonanza City. I'm really ready to move on. But anyway, what do I want you to take away from this video? This very long video. First, this video was not me trying to ruin Kid Nation for you. Kid Nation has remained popular for a reason, and that's because it's a well-made, engaging show. The cast is very likable, and you want to see them succeed. From everything I read, most of the kids seem to have had a great time living on set. It was challenging and difficult, but it was also very rewarding and in some cases life-changing. I read so many interviews from right after the show filmed where the kids were like, "I want to go back to Bonanza City, I missed it so much, it was the best." But at the same time, the kids having a positive experience on set does not negate the fact that they were underpaid, overworked, and living in less than optimal conditions. Both of these things can be true at the same time. We are very lucky that more did not go wrong on set, and under the same conditions, much more could have happened. Kid Nation in many ways can be seen as a cautionary tale. It shows us how reality television can harm children both on and off the set. Corporations cannot be trusted to ensure safe, fair working conditions, which is why legal protections are so important. As of 2024, there are very few laws that exist to protect children working on reality TV. In the article, More Than a Minor Inconvenience, the case for heightened protections for children appearing in reality television, Catherine Nayfield makes several recommendations about how kids can be better protected. And really, the biggest thing that can be done is to pass regulation that guarantees children working on reality shows the same rights that any other child would get in the entertainment industry. There are also things that can be done specifically for reality TV, such as allowing parents to review footage before it airs. Throughout this video, I found myself asking, is there an ethical way to make reality TV with children? Right now, my answer is yes, but mostly no. It feels like most reality television that has featured children has been exploitative in some way. Every day, a new former child star comes forward to talk about how they are harmed by the entertainment industry. But that isn't to say there isn't a way to make a reality show with kids. When I think of better examples of reality shows with children, I think of the shows that were made with a child audience in mind. These all feature kids in real situations, but they are far, far less sensational than Kid Nation. In the tone also feels more respectful to the kids, you know? Next thing you know, there's gonna be some hit piece about how Ruff Ruffin was a terrible boss, so maybe I should include this section. Well, that's it. I can't believe it. You all, I have been filming for 4.5 hours. Mochi's been sitting here the whole time and you couldn't even see him. Thank you for watching my video. It's been a lot of work. I can't believe you're already at the end of it. If you want to support me on my channel, you can smash that like, subscribe button or something. What do you think about Kid Nation? Did you like it as much as I did? I'm ready to edit this video and then never think about this show again. Thanks everybody. I will see you in the next one.